All right, and so here we go. So welcome everyone this morning to the India Opportunities Market Overview. I'm Hayden Romig. I'm the engagement executive with WUSADA, and I'm responsible for the Southern California companies in our program in districts 16 through 52. And I'm here to help companies navigate WUSADA, the Fund Match program, as well as our Global Connect program, and be your point of contact. So if you ever have any questions related to SADA-related events or Fund Match, our reimbursement program, don't be afraid to reach out. I'll include my contact information in this as well. Or if there's another engagement executive that's in your region of the Western US, let me know and we'll get you in contact with them if you haven't been already. So just a few housekeeping items. We've already discussed that this webinar will be recorded for future use. And we also have some upcoming webinars as well as upcoming inbound mission. So on November 14th, we have opportunities in India, products and commodities. November 19th, we'll have opportunities in India, expanding modern and traditional retail. And on December 2nd, we will have our India dried fruit and nut inbound mission to California and Oregon. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste those into the chat with a link to our website if you're more than interested to check those out. But I will put them in the links below. That way you have it. You can also sign up for those events through your MyWUSADA account. So without further ado, I'm just going to go right ahead and turn it over to you.
Thanks so much for that, Hayden, and thanks, WUSADA team. Good morning, everyone. Good morning from India. We're close to midnight over here. That's why you see these beautiful lights behind me. We are just after celebrating Diwali, which is India's largest festival of the year. And it's for us the most auspicious time of the year. So a great time to begin a series that looks at India. Thank you again, Hayden and WUSADA, for giving us this opportunity. Everyone, I'm Sachin Khurana. I lead Quick Relations. We are a leading food and beverage marketing firm based in India. We've been in the market for more than 30 years. I'm a second generation entrepreneur, just like a lot of you come from multi-generational families. This firm was set up by my mom and dad about 30 years ago. And over the years, we've grown to become a more than 50-member team spread across this region, working in Asia and Middle East. It's an honor to address all of you today, and especially talking about the country that I grew up in, and a country that's rising rapidly in terms of the kind of opportunities it presents, especially for the kind of businesses and products that we're talking about here today, and WUSADA members. I'm going to share my screen so that all of you can see the presentation. We also have a special address from the USDA FAS India team, and Joanna would be sharing her address here today. Can you all see my screen? So before I really go into much detail, what I really wanted to talk about was how India has undergone a significant transformation in recent years. Especially post-COVID, there's an opening up of numerous opportunities across multiple product categories that members of WUSADA can actually benefit from. Today's webinar, like Hayden mentioned, is the first in a series of 4, and we really look forward to your participation in each of these sessions. We have an outstanding lineup of different industry experts speaking on multiple sectors within the overall F&B space, different categories, different supply chain channels, and all of them will be sharing their insights and perspectives on the Indian market and its potential. In today's webinar specifically, I'll be providing an overview of the overall India food market. We're also, like I mentioned earlier, fortunate to have a special address from Joanna Brown. She's from FAS India team. She's the agriculture attaché at the USDA Delhi office. We'll have time for questions and answers at the end. So please jot down those questions as and when we go on with the presentation. But before I really dive into my presentation, I'd like to share Joanna's remarks with everyone.
Of Sorry, of course, when we do the trial run, it works with the audio, and I'm not catching anything. You want to make an adjustment here?
Okay, let me try and redo this. Just allow me a moment, please. I'm resharing my screen.
Of course, it works in the trial run, right? It always
It
does.
does, always. I'm hoping you're all able to hear it now, but just let me know if you can't.
Still nothing.
Is this working now?
No, I can't hear it.
Let me just try it in a different way. Can you all hear this now?
No.
That's surprising.
So when you're hitting share on your
Yeah.
screen on the top right corner, it does say include sound, correct? You have that checked on.
So when I share the screen, it does not give me any such option, and it didn't give me earlier as well.
Oh, okay.
It just played when I asked you, but I'm still gonna try it again and see if this works. The other option is I could rejoin and try it again. Maybe that could work.
I'm not hearing it either.
Okay, let me just rejoin if that's okay. Just allow me one moment, please.
Yep, no problem.
Apologies for this.
Well, in the meantime, as he rejoins, I know I mentioned that we'll have an inbound mission here coming up on December 2nd. And that's the 2024 India dried fruit and nut inbound mission. So it looks like we've got delegation arriving in Portland, Oregon, meetings and tours in Oregon from December 1st and the 2nd. Those meetings and tours will continue on the 3rd, and then they will have a trip down to Fresno, California, where the California portion of it would start. So we'll have site visits and tabletop meetings on December 4th. The drive to Sacramento tabletop meetings on the 5th, and December 6th, there'll be 2 site visits in the morning and retail visits in the evening. So participation fees for this event are $25 if you're interested in participating in this inbound event. And we also have our registration deadline set for November 25th. So if you're interested, please sign up and let us know. If you have any questions on the event, feel free to reach out to us.
Hayden, I'll give this a try again. Hopefully it'll work now.
Would you send me this video and then we can continue and we can go to your part of the presentation while I troubleshoot this, and then maybe I can get it to work on our end.
Sure.
I know I know Kelsey had sent me an email, but I don't have access to open it.
I'll send one to you right now, and I'll also give you a WeTransfer link.
Okay, perfect.
Just one second, please. I've sent you the link as well as the WeTransfer link. So there are two things. Just in case the original link doesn't work, use the WeTransfer link.
Did you send it to me or did you send it to Kelsey?
I've sent it to you. You should have it in the next 2 minutes.
Okay.
I'll go back to my presentation in the meanwhile.
Okay. Yep, go right ahead, because then I'll look for that and then we'll try to get that working.
Sure. Sounds good. Okay, I'm gonna give it one last try.
Hello and greetings from New Delhi. My name is Joanna Brown. I'm
Can you hear
the
this now?
agricultural attaché here at the U.S. Embassy in our Office of Agricultural Affairs. I'll be giving you all a market brief on India. So I would like to start by sharing my screen.
Were you able to hear this?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, great. So I'll just go ahead.
And
Thanks, everybody.
introducing our full team here in the U.S. Embassy. Our Office of Agricultural Affairs is headed by our head of post, our Minister Counselor, Garth Thorborn. And we actually have two other American officers here in New Delhi, including myself. I'm the agricultural attaché. And then we have a senior agricultural attaché. Her name is Karen Richards, which we actually don't have a photo on this presentation. And then we also have our office, another Office of Agricultural Affairs in Mumbai, which is led by our senior agricultural attaché, Rhiannon Helms. And then, of course, we have a wonderful locally employed staff. You see their photos here. So generally, we do a lot of reporting, looking at major commodities that are produced here in India, from grains, rice, corn production, wheat production. We also look at oil seeds production here in India, and India is a major producer of sugar. We produce reports on ethanol and their biofuels, and a number of reports on horticultural products, various tree nuts from almonds to pistachios and walnuts, as well as deciduous fruits like apples, pears. So if you haven't already explored our Global Agricultural Information Network, our GAIN system, it has a number of helpful reports, and we publish them almost every month, definitely every quarter. There's a new report that will provide you some helpful information on the agricultural situation here in India and opportunities for U.S. Agricultural products in India. So that's just a slight overview of our team and what we do here. We also, just to add to that, in addition to the number of reports and the reporting, we also do marketing, trade promotional activities. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next couple of slides. But just to give you a little bit more about India. So just to provide an overview of the country. So it is the most populous country in the world, with 1.4 billion, almost 20% of our global population. About 508 million, almost 40% of Indians live in urban areas. More than half of India's population is under the age of 30. The median age in 2020 was actually 27 years of 27 years old. The gross domestic product, the growth rate, the GDP growth rate is very high. It's estimated to be 7.6% in last year, and the forecast for this year is around 7% as well, among the highest in the world. The country is poised to transition. Currently, the status of the country, according to the World Bank, is lower middle income economy, but with this amazing growth rate, the country is poised to transition to upper middle income economy and become potentially the third largest economy by 2030 in terms of GDP. So there is a growing middle class with aspirational spending habits that potentially could offer some wonderful opportunities for U.S. products coming into India. So turning to U.S. agricultural exports to India. So we have exported historically around $2 billion in agricultural products to India, and that helps to make the country the 13th largest single export market for U.S. agricultural products. Last year in 2023, the top 5 U.S. agricultural product categories included horticultural products, mostly driven by tree nuts, almonds, walnuts, pistachios, and that was at $1.2 billion. Following that, the next largest category was ethanol for non-fuel use, so industrial uses and chemical uses. Following that, the third largest U.S. agricultural product exported to India was cotton at $231 million. And then next is oilseeds at $65 million. And the fifth largest export products category, rather, that we export to India are dairy products at $42 million. So going to the next slide. So India is not without its challenges. It is a huge producer, agricultural producer, powerhouse producer. It's number one, ranked globally as number one in the production of pulses, cotton, tea, dairy, mangoes, bananas, and also ranks number 2 in rice, wheat, sugar, and peanuts. Unfortunately, India is not China, so and maybe fortunate as well, but India does do a lot in terms of preventing market access and impeding agricultural trade. They're infamous for having high tariffs and non-tariff barriers. India's applied tariffs on most agricultural and consumer-ready food products range between 30 and 40%, with bound tariffs as high as 150%. For the looking specifically at non-tariff barriers, there's a number of sanitary and phytosanitary measures, particularly in the biotechnology space, that are not based in science or risk-based approaches. And those challenges continue. Actually, this year was an election year in India, and throughout the year, and it continues post-election, there's been a lot of rhetoric on Make in India, which is a campaign that talks about self-reliance and that India essentially can do without the imports of agricultural products. So that's kind of the overall tone and challenge in the political realm that we deal with here with the government of India. But I think there's also room to, within these challenges, there's room for opportunities for U.S. agriculture. Because India wants to, they are very aspirational. as a people, and the country hopes to, as noted in the previous slide, to achieve upper middle income status. And to do that, they are hoping to improve their employment rate. And currently, there is persistent high unemployment and underemployment, particularly in the agricultural sector in India. 46% of the workforce remains in the agricultural sector, but it only contributes 20% to the GDP, to the overall economy. So I think there's ways for U.S. agriculture to stimulate their economy. There are good examples in the tree nut industry where we export a lot of shelled nuts, and then they come in to India and provides jobs by providing processing jobs, value-added jobs in the shelling industry and the food processing industry. So those are some opportunities for us to kind of, we call them win-win opportunities in the agricultural sector that we can highlight as we continue to highlight the benefit of trade to the government of India. So although there has been that rhetoric, there is that rhetoric still across the government of India. India does need imports, and the growth of imports is likely to increase due to some of the externalities that they're dealing with, the weather conditions, volatility in the weather, and seeing depletion of water reserves, the impact of climate change. So there is a need for India to continue to increase their share of imports. But we're not the only player in the game. As you can imagine, we have a number of competing trade partners that have been entering into trade agreements with India. Notably, Australia established a comprehensive free trade agreement recently with India that may put us at a disadvantage in some categories. There are also other trade agreements that also may prevent us from increasing market share in certain categories. So how are we addressing that here in the Office of Agricultural Affairs in New Delhi? We have a number of different mechanisms to engage the government of India. One of the primary ones is we have an official meeting with the government of India. It's called the Trade Policy Forum, and it's hosted every year, annually, either here in India or in United States in Washington, D.C. This year was held in January of this year here in New Delhi. And so the conversations are held at the ministerial level. So we had our ambassador for the U.S. Trade Representative, Ambassador Catherine Tai, engage with her counterpart in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And they discussed a number of priority issues regarding market access for U.S. agricultural products. And so through those engagements, we have seen some progress in terms of reducing some of the high tariffs. Notably, we received some concessions for last year. There was the removal of the retaliatory tariffs on a number of products, including almonds, walnuts, chickpeas, lentils, and apples. And then also we received additional tariff reductions for some poultry products, particularly turkey and duck, and berries, cranberries and blueberries in particular. So we're hoping to continue to build on those wins and allow for additional market access for U.S. agricultural products. Outside of that mechanism, we also do, I mentioned earlier, we do some trade promotion and marketing. Earlier this year in April, we had one of our largest trade missions to India, our agribusiness trade mission, which was hosted by our Undersecretary for Trade, Alexis Taylor. And so we hosted over 100 participants. Some of your members, I think, from USADA joined in that trade mission, and we had several different market briefs to orient um, uh, different industries to India. We also had dedicated time for business to business meetings. And so out of that trade mission, there was a number of connections that were made that we're hoping to see grow over the years and build more opportunities for U.S. agriculture. Excuse me, there's actually something in my throat. So in addition to those examples, we also have other mechanisms that depending on, depending on, sorry. We also have other mechanisms that include engagement with different ministries across the government of India. There's a number of different players that touch on agriculture within India. And so we actually have a concept note with one of them, the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, where we're hoping to just increase information across our two countries. So there's a better understanding of how how trade can help India and their goals to be the third largest economy by 2030, and how particularly the trade in the agricultural sector can help them in those goals. So we are trying to really hone in on this message of win-win agriculture through this concept note that we've established with the Ministry of Agriculture. So that's another example of our engagement. But we also, regularly meet with our counterparts across several ministries to discuss priority issues and challenges facing facing U.S. agriculture. So we welcome any of your suggestions and thoughts and ways that we can advocate for your particular needs. So let me turn to the next slide. I mentioned earlier we have some great resources on our Global Agricultural Information Network system. And one of our most recent products is we call it a roadmap, the U.S.-India roadmap that we published early this year in August. So this is a great resource just to better understand, get more of the details of some of the highlights I shared on the agricultural situation in India and the opportunities that are there for U.S. agriculture, as well as going into some more details of some of the challenges that we face. We like to say this is a long game, investing in India. Building relationships is very important in this culture. So understanding the history, the opportunities, then we'll grow from that. So we really encourage you to dig deep and take a long view in your engagement with India. And we believe this resource will help you with that mindset. So we are very lucky in that we have some great partners, including USADA, but we do have some great active cooperators in India that we do a lot of collaboration with. So we're very happy to continue to build that, and with all the new marketing support with the RAP money, we look forward to closely coordinating with you all and doing some very having some more impactful programs that will ultimately grow our market access across India. So with that, I would like to thank you for listening to my presentation, and I'll turn it over to the next presenter. But feel free, if you have any questions, you can reach me by email. Again, my name is Joanna Brown, and my email is essentially my name. So joanna.brown@usda.gov. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for being so patient while we figured the audio, and I'm glad it worked. Thank you, Hayden, for your patience as well. But to understand the opportunities that India presents, just like Joanna was mentioning, we must look at the broader picture. India is one of the most diverse countries in the world. We have different languages, we have different customs, and more importantly for you, we have different food preferences in almost every state, and we have close to 30 of those. This presents its own set of opportunities and challenges. In fact, when we talk about India, we don't really look at India as one country. It's actually a subcontinent full of different sort of nationalities involved in it, each having its own language, its own preference, its own culture. Even the clothing changes as we move every 100 miles in the country. We are also one of the strongest and fastest growing economies globally, which is being driven by a young 300 million middle class. Joanna also touched upon the middle class, which is one of the largest consumer segments driving everything that's moving around the country right now. This middle class is traveling the world right now and has built an evolving palette which is open to global taste. And that's what's building India in terms of global consumer house, especially when it comes to food products. And with everything that has happened in the last few years, there's never been a better time to explore this market. That was one of the reasons why we felt it was a great idea to build this whole series, specially focused on India, so that all of us could reintroduce ourselves and figure out where the opportunities really lie. Just like Joanna mentioned, we are now the largest population in the world with a strong middle class that's learning to spend more for better quality products as they climb the socioeconomic ladder. There's also an evolving digital landscape in India that has brought more choices to consumers, even in the smallest of the cities. A lot of this growth is coming from regional India, which is beyond your larger metros, but the smaller tier 2 and tier 3 cities, which is driving consumer demand everywhere in the country right now. The penetration of modern retail and e-commerce specifically is actually driving this journey of discovery, where consumers are able to find a much larger bouquet of choices than they had in the past. In terms of our overall imports when it comes to products from the world, India is the eighth largest importer of agricultural products globally. Our imports crossed $37 billion last year, and that's 50% growth just in the last 5 years. Like Joanna mentioned, I mean, edible oils is something that we heavily rely upon when it comes to imports, especially palm and soybean oil, which are essential for cooking and food processing. Tree nuts and pulses are other critical import categories, especially for Wasara members, because a lot of these are grown in the western region. These products form a staple part of the Indian diet. And while we do have a lot of domestic production when it comes to nuts and pulses, but there's definitely a much higher demand than production. And also, in terms of varietal choices, there are several varieties that are consumed heavily in India, but not really grown as much as we would want to see, which creates a demand for imports. In terms of the overall food market, it is one of the fastest growing. It is one of the fastest growing sectors in the country. We expect it to cross $1 trillion in a couple of years from now, and this growth is being driven by multiple factors, be it including, I mean, increasing incomes, there's urbanization, there's changes in our lifestyles. In terms of product segment within the overall food market, bread and cereal products really dominate it. Dairy, tree nuts, and fresh produce again play a huge role when it comes to the bifurcation within this market. We import a variety of different food products when it comes to overall import basket. Food is a key part of our life, and we spend more than 30% of our income just on food. That's much higher than most of the other countries in a similar income and demography segment as India. More recently, there's also been a rising demand for organic product, for allergen-free product, and I'll talk a bit more as we go further in the presentation about that. But before we really deep dive into it, I'm going to briefly touch upon the distribution pattern in India, the supply chain, because for a lot of you, this is something which is always of critical interest, because when your product come to the market, it's on this supply chain that they'll realize that they can reach the end consumers. As you can see, it's a very fragmented supply chain. There are a lot of hoops that the product needs to pass through before it reaches the end consumer. This fragmented chain can present a lot of challenges, but it's an invaluable asset when it comes to ensuring that your product are actually able to reach the end consumer. However, when you identify key players within this network and are able to form the right partnerships, you can definitely effectively navigate the complexities of the supply chain. And you are able to introduce successful products to it. We've seen lots of success stories from US and other parts of the world in recent past as well as over the years. And there's definitely a huge opportunity when it comes to product distribution in India. But as we look at building a deeper understanding of India, it's important to understand how our consumer is evolving. The imported food market is changing rapidly, and consumers are desiring variety as well as higher quality. There's also a growing awareness of health and wellness, especially post COVID, which has led to increase in interest for organic as well as functional foods. India's being infamous for being very, very thrifty as a country, but we're now changing from being a price conscious consumer to a value conscious one. We are definitely happy to spend more when we know that premium is going to get us a better quality product and a healthier product. We're also rapidly evolving as we travel globally, and now most of us expect those same choices to be available when we are back in our home country. There's also a small segment within our society that's now started opting for sustainable products. It's, however, a very, very small market at a really nascent stage now, but it will certainly rise faster. In terms of the US food market, let's take a closer look at that. US continues to be the leading supplier of consumer-oriented products for India. That definitely highlights the strong demand and trust that we place in American food products. They're definitely at the top of the list whenever we've done a survey, be it in terms of quality, assurance, food safety, US has always been at top of those lists. Last year, we did around $2 billion worth of imports from the US, and about 50% of that came just from consumer oriented products. So there's definitely a huge opportunity and already a huge existing market in that sense. But definitely, wherever there's a market, there's competition as well. And entering India does not come without its own challenges. There are a lot of different aspects you'll face competition in, be it in terms of other origins that have a better tariff or a preferential tariff in India. The government of India has been on an overdrive to sign different free trade agreements. Uh, Joanna mentioned Australia, there's UAE, there's Chile, there are several others that India has signed. We're also negotiating with the government of United Kingdom as well as the European Union to sign more FTAs. And all of these definitely will create a challenge when it comes to tariffs as well as pricing of our products. There are other countries that have geographical proximity to India, which means lesser shipping times, lesser cost of freight, which can be critical in days post COVID when shipping has become such a challenge. But these are things we can't do much about. But despite these challenges, like we've seen earlier, US agricultural exports to India have seen positive growth. Like I mentioned, total exports have been close to $2 billion last year. Tree nuts, dairy products, fresh produce, processed foods, all of these have been really well received in the Indian market. Also, something I am personally very inclined towards, the distilled spirits market has also been growing really well in India, and that again presents a huge opportunity to American exporters. Let's also examine slightly the trends in US agricultural related products. I know Joanna spent a lot of time on this, so I'm not going to really spend too much time, but just in a nutshell, no pun intended, tree nuts continue to be the leading export category. Almonds itself is about 80% of the overall tree nuts, if slightly not more than that. Essential oils, again, are a key thing. And however, there are some segments which have seen a degrowth as well. So especially cotton, which there were challenges around growth, there were challenges around weather, which impacted. Though this year again, cotton's gone back up in terms of imports in India and exports specifically from the US. But in terms of overall best performing segments, there have been recent tariff reductions that Joanna touched upon for different agricultural products, which has allowed for greater penetration as well as a revival of lost markets. Tree nuts, definitely pulses again, fresh produce, especially Washington apples and all. A lot of these markets that we lost during the tariff wars, we've definitely gained back in the last 8 to 9 months. And then special
Apologies for the technical difficulties. It looks like we lost him mid-sentence. Let's see. I'm going to give him a second to rejoin here. Well, as oh, okay, there we go. Again, as you know, as he's getting back into the conversation and getting back to his spot on the PowerPoint, I know I've brought this up a couple times throughout the call already, but we do have another webinar for opportunities in India on the 14th as well as the 19th, products and commodities, and expanding modern and traditional retail. Um, let's see here. Sachin, are you back in?
Yeah.
There you go.
My presentation?
Yep, I got it.
Okay.
We can see it.
Okay. So apologies for that, but in terms of the fresh produce market, there's definitely an opportunity specifically for products such as apples. Berries have become extremely popular, and there's been a tariff reduction in that, so that's definitely going to see much growth in the in the coming years. Tree nuts, again, there's definitely a massive growth in India. India is already one of the largest markets globally for a lot of US tree nut exports. And uh, I believe that's something Hayden was also mentioning on in terms of the trade mission that's going to come in. Uh, Nuts have been a key part of our diet for generations now. And even the younger generations, it continues to play a large part, especially because of the health benefits. Uh, Definitely huge opportunity in India. Pulses, again, there's been a lot of pulses in India always. We probably eat pulses 3 times a day, if not more. Uh, India's, but again, the largest consumer, the largest producer of pulses as well. Imports, again, India is the largest. And US pulses definitely find a big market back in India after 3.5 years. So that's been a good thing for us to see, especially in terms of the subvariant within pulses, both yellow peas as well as green lentils from the US have seen huge markets in India. The evolving tastes of Indian consumers are also leading us to create an increased demand for diverse sauces and condiments. Again, I know there are a lot of companies in the Western region which will have an interest in this market. We already have a huge overall market size, which is pegged at about $25 billion. So far, US plays a very small role in that, which is close to $5 billion. But there's definitely an opportunity for us to grow that as we continue to gain popularity and as sauces and condiments continue to grow in India, there's definitely an opportunity for US companies to bring in newer flavors, innovative products that could create a niche market for them. The overall beverage market, again, like I was mentioning earlier, is a very exciting market. We have a lot of periods in India and a lot of cultural regions where we don't consume alcoholic beverages. There are some states where alcoholic beverages are banned, so there's opportunity for both alcoholic as well as non-alcoholic beverages. And we've also seen a lot of new 0.0 beers and 0.0 alcohols, which are lookalikes, coming in the market and finding a space for them. The rise of craft beer and premium spirits is also changing consumer preferences, which is again creating a lot of opportunity for US companies. Again, something probably more post-COVID is the health-oriented drinks, such as healthy juices and low-calorie options, which are now gaining a lot of traction within India, and that's also changing the way our bar and HNI scene is alive right now. But while the opportunities in India are substantial, it's also important to recognize the challenges that US exporters may face while exporting to India. Beat the regulatory hurdles such as tariffs, the quality standards, the labeling requirements, all of these can pose significant barriers. There's also domestic competition from producers within India as well as neighboring countries that can bring in a product at a much lower price point. However, understanding this is essential if you are to build India as one of your important markets. Uh, Conduct thorough market research, ensure you're informed of all the regulatory challenges, build strong relationships with your partners. And I'm going to talk more about this in the coming slides. But there's opportunities, there's challenges, and we have to live through all of them to ensure it becomes a successful market for you. Just to recap the opportunities that we see in the market, uh, it's a unique and dynamic landscape for US agricultural products. It's a huge market, but you got to do it the right way. There is definitely fertile ground and there's definitely a huge market for several existing US products, but there's opportunity for newer products as well. Categories such as fresh produced tree nuts, pulses that we've talked about multiple times through this presentation already have a huge market, but then there's opportunities for more of you. As we continue to travel more as Indian consumers and as we continue to become more adventurous in our food choices, there's more opportunity for newer products that didn't have a market in India. And we've seen a lot of that in the recent past, where products that didn't even exist in India, say 5 years ago, now have a huge opportunity. Look at products like berries, look at products like avocados that have suddenly become household thing in India and didn't even exist, say 5 or 6 years ago. The idea is the potential in India is significant and the economy will continue to grow. It's up to us to ensure we are able to benefit from that. But how do you enter a market which is as diverse and as complex as India? There's no one solution that will fit all. However, if you follow some key guidelines, you will definitely have a chance to success. First, ensure you evaluate. You study the product and regulations in India. You see if it's allowed in the market, and if it is, then what is the sort of competition that it will face, and who will be your key competitors. Second, find the right partner. This, I believe, will be the most critical part for any new company that's looking to enter, or any company that's looking to re-enter the market. You have to identify a reliable importer or distributor or partner who can be your trusted ally in this market and who will work with you to grow it to its potential. A good way to do that is participating in trade shows, trade missions. Reach out to the Vusata team to get more information about scheduled trade missions as well as the FAS approved shows. I know Hayden and other team members from Vusata will be always happy to help you in that and sharing lists as well as other contacts that you might need. Another key factor when you're doing business in India, especially with a new partner or for the first time, is securing yourself in terms of payment terms. It's a vital part of working in this country. Either get an LC or work at an advance payment, but just ensure you secure your payments and you have the right paperwork, which covers all the key elements that you need to when you're doing business. To be successful in India, you need to think of India and enter India. That's the first thing. Just be present in the market. Also, like I mentioned earlier, identify the right partner and then work with them to build a sustainable strategy that will work in this market. It has to be locally built so that the nuisances, the cultural understanding that all comes through that strategy. Understand that India will be a slow burn, so you have to be patient and you have to be consistent. Rome wasn't built in a day. India will definitely not be built in that single day. But you can definitely speed up your accessibility in the market by choosing the right partner and by choosing the right strategy. Once you're able to do that, India holds a lot of potential for all of your products. Irrespective of what category you come in, whether you're a premium product, whether you're a niche product, or you're a mass product. With a 1.4 billion population and a 400 million middle class, there's definitely a consumer waiting for your product over here. The idea is to ensure that you're able to reach the right consumer, and the idea is to also ensure that you are able to reach them at the right price point. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me. We will definitely have time for questions, but before we go to the questions, I know Hayden wanted to talk a bit about Vusata. Hayden, I'm handing this over to you.
Perfect. So this is just maybe a little bit of a refresher for those that are on this call, but I wanted to make sure that we had a little bit of a touch base for maybe people that have joined the call today that maybe are not in Vusata programs or haven't done Vusata activities in the past. I just wanted to get everyone kind of brought up to speed. So as Vusata, we are a nonprofit organization, and we work very closely with our state project managers in our western states. And I have seen a couple of them on the call today. There's Juan Sanchez in New Mexico, and Rebecca Weber in Washington. They're wonderful to work with. They're very insightful, very knowledgeable. So when we're talking about requirements on documentation or whatever the case is, more specific business towards exports, they are your people to go to if those are your states. They're very helpful. So please reach out to them, and we can always, if you haven't been connected with them before, more than happy to facilitate that. And you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So again, we work very closely with our ag partners in our western states, and that is going to include essentially everything west of Colorado, and that's going to include the Mariana Islands, Guam, and obviously Hawaii and Alaska as well. Go ahead and move to the next slide. This should be our qualifications on our program. So do you qualify for taking part in our missions, our activities, and our reimbursement program, the Fund Match program? So to qualify for Vusata's programs, you got to make sure that you're at least headquartered out in the Western U.S. You are a small to medium agribusiness per the SBA guidelines, and your products are at least 50% U.S. grown here in the U.S. That doesn't necessarily mean that your products have to be 50% grown in the Western United States, it can pertain to anywhere in the United States as long as you're meeting those first two qualifications. So if you have any more questions about that, feel free to reach out to me directly. I will include my email in the chat. And if you're not within my area or my congressional districts, I'll make sure to connect you with the correct engagement executive that will be helping you and assisting you along the way. So very quick brief. Let's get to the Q&A because I know we'll probably have some questions here. So we'll turn it over to that. We're being shy. I know there's a question. I know someone's got something. And feel free to say something over the, you can come off of mute. You can more than welcome to put anything in the chat as well.
Hello, have you seen very much success on the alcoholic beverage, especially in the craft sector?
We have. So that's something, and it's actually a great question, Lisa. So we've seen a lot of success in craft beverages as well as premium beverages. The last 5 years, especially post COVID, the consumption of alcoholic beverages in India has grown. But more than the overall consumption growing, it's also the various subsets in terms of how the liquor distribution industry in India worked. I mean, India was primarily a whiskey drinking market. We are the largest whiskey drinking market, or one of the largest, that amongst the top 2 or 3 across the world. But then that is now changing, where we're shifting our drinking preferences beyond the traditional whiskey and moving to other craft beverages, beers, different sorts of. There's a lot of microbreweries now in India. In the last 5 years, India is becoming the sort of hub for microbreweries in South Asia, and that's changed the way we drank. And earlier, it used to be a taboo to drink during the day, and that's completely changing. It used to be a taboo for women to drink in India. That's again changing. There's a lot of different sorts of drinks coming in, which are specifically positioned towards women as well as towards drinking during the day. And then now we also see a lot of mixers and ready-to-mix drinks, which are changing the way we drink. So there's, I mean, every particular segment within the overall liquor segment beyond whiskey, we've seen a lot of growth in that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Great. I'll also leave my email ID in the chat along with Hayden, just in case someone has questions beyond the webinar. Please feel free to reach out to me. Joanna also shared her email ID. I'll put that in the chat as well, just in case any of you have questions for FAS India. They're always available to assist any US exporter. So anytime you have questions or need something about India, Hayden, myself, or Joanna, one of us should always be able to help you out. And again, just a reminder, this is just the first in a series of 4 webinars. We'll have different sort of industry experts speaking in the other webinars on various sectors. A lot of consumption patterns in India have changed in the last 4 years, and that's been specifically due to the rise of quick commerce, which has created a specific market within India for niche products, premium products, and quick commerce is really something that's changing the way we consume. So we'll have experts who will talk about specialty foods. We'll have experts who will talk about the rise of modern retail, quick commerce, e-commerce. We'll have experts talking about the rise of specific segments within specialty foods and traditional foods. We'll have experts who will talk about fresh produce. So please join us for those webinars as well. Hayden shared those details earlier, and the next webinar is on the 14th of November. The third one is scheduled on 19th of November, and the last is scheduled on the 4th of December.
Well, perfect. If we don't have any more questions, I think we can wrap it up 3 minutes early for everyone. You knocked it out of the park. You answered everyone's questions. There's no questions left to be added. So how about that? Again, thank you everyone for attending our webinar series. If along the way, especially this one, and thank you, Sachin, for for providing your market overview insights. And we look forward to more presentations coming from you as well and learning more about the India market.
Thank you so much, Hayden, and thank you everyone for attending this. We really look forward to seeing you again in our next webinars. Thank you,
Awesome.
everyone. Thank you, Vusata.
Great. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a good day, everyone. Thank you so much for your time.